Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Novice to Legendary Recap episodes. Now, since we are at the end of the month, that means this is a recap episode of the side campaign. So, those of you who may not know, I ran a one-shot of the Dark Matter setting with the old Alternity rules.
I've never seen him not excited, or heard him not excited. And excuse me if my voice is fading in and out. I've been dealing with allergies the past few weeks.
It's just been brutal lately. Anyways, so this past session was basically the official kickoff of the Dark Matter side campaign. And when I say official kickoff, I mean with everybody, or darn near everybody, actually participating in the game. I mean, everybody's even made their own characters and everything, and there's a lot of fun going through that whole process throughout the month. I admit most of the character creation was actually done the week prior to the session. A lot of that was my fault, because I just let allergies and other things get in the way, and I don't know what to say there, but we did get it done. So we started off with Dr. Akins, or the DM of the regular campaign, his character, and an NPC that they managed to rescue, making their way to Portland, Oregon from somewhere in the middle of Idaho. I even had like a nice map that I pretty much nabbed from Google Maps and everything to kind of show them where, roughly where they were and everything, and kind of the route a couple of different options for routes that they could be taking. And we drove, during the road trip, Dr. Akins picked the NPC, Jonas Riley's brain, a bit about the Hoffman Institute and what the Institute does, what Riley does specifically. And really, I had just kind of decided, well, I don't know if I need to reveal all this stuff, the GM's privileges and all that. But in any case, he got the gist of what the Institute was about. It is this organization that is dedicated to investigating paranormal and unexplained phenomena. And it just so happened that Riley's focus has been on arcane and occult matters, trying to uncover the truth about them and whatnot. And his first big lead on this was actually involved in this investigation of this purported diabolist, Michael Galvin. I say Michael because I am not that good with French, so I'm just really not even really trying. It's kind of a Frenchish kind of way it's spelled, that Michael's spelled. It's almost like Michelle with letters missing. But anyhow, his first big break was during this case, sort of around Galvin, and finding this snow globe that, to Riley's knowledge, is actually in the hands of the cult, but there's nothing he can really do right now because he doesn't know where they may have gone off to, and he's still a majorly hurting unit from the incident at the rest stop from the last session. So after a bit of talking there, I made a segue, and after they decided which route they were taking, there are a couple of options. I was like, this is the shortest route, though. It actually was. I checked Google Maps before the session. When you're a GM, you got to prepare for these things. And so eventually got set up where we had the whole group meet. And, you usually want to put when you're the GM, you usually want to try and like put all the heroes in a situation where they kind of wind up having to work together if they're complete strangers, like it turned out, like it was this, with this campaign. And one of the route that I took was having all of their cars shut down in the middle of the highway because they were at the scene of an alien abduction. That's kind of a key feature. Most all of us have seen the X-Files and everything, where electronics go haywire and then the cars just die at the site of alien abductions and close encounters and whatnot, which was like the perfect way to bring everyone together. And it was great because here's the the makeup of this party of investigators. So we have Dr. Philip Akins, the linguist, the professor of linguistics, and he's also a paranormal investigator. There's some other details that I know about this character. Everybody would have, everyone who was actually at the one shot also got to see some of these details, and I may have let slip some of it in the last recap episode. I will not be doing so here. One of the other ones was a fellow by the name of Elliot Bergstrom, who's like a research assistant in the field of archaeology. This happens to be the character being played by the player who was the other person in the one shot that became the campaign. He decided he wanted to play a character that was a little more in line with his playstyle and personality. So really, his character from the last session, Will Wheeler, the anti-government militia guy, he wound up getting pulled over without anybody's knowledge and leading the police on a high-speed chase because he has he's got he's got a warrant. That's the word. Jeez. Been living in the modern world for 30 years, some odd years, and I still forget these things. Anyways, he has a warrant out for his arrest by the ATF, so he did not want to let anybody kind of collect on that warrant. He didn't really want that warrant to be served and follow through, so boom, off he goes. So anyways, Elliot Bergstrom is very, from what I've seen so far, he's kind of a bit of a quiet fella. Although, to be fair, there are some very outgoing and rather boisterous personalities in this group, including Brody Finch, who is played by the guy who plays Zulid in the regular campaign. And Brody is this fella from Tennessee who is a big conspiracy nut and a bit of a rebellious, like, anti-authority type of character, which, as we'll find out in a little bit, made certain encounters during this adventure a lot of, pretty uncomfortable for everybody else. Anyway, so yeah, conspiracy nut. He was big on, UFOs and everything. So, of course, this whole thing, he's just having a field day with it. So much fun to watch. And the next one, next character, Ivan Calithan. Hope I pronounced it right. Who is a very well-to-do gentleman who actually did drop the name of the company that he runs, Freedom Fire, which is a firearms emporium warehouse kind of a thing. He's big on the guns. And he's very much like a law-abiding citizen, which also made for some pretty entertaining role playing in this session. We will get to that in a minute. And then let's see here. Oh yeah, and then there was also Hans. No last name yet. Who knows? Maybe there won't be. This is played by my brother, who plays Beheshtur in the regular campaign. And he, what's great is everybody decided to make characters that were the complete opposite of their regular characters in the D&D campaign. It was pretty easy for the DM to do that because the exact opposite of the character he plays is playing a single character. Easy peasy. So while Beheshtur tends to be a little bit more serious and laconic, Hans is very hyperactive. He's a really talkative spaz. In fact, the first time he actually interacted with the group, Ivan said, "You don't get any caffeine ever," or something to that effect. And he's also a bit of a goofball, which, makes things so much fun. I was so excited when we worked on his character. So anyways, these five individuals were at the scene of this alien abduction, and in the middle of their investigations, they found another of the hallmark of alien abductions, a ring of scorched earth and whatnot, super heated. And inside this car, they found no body, just a pile of ash in the driver's seat, as well as a laptop in the passenger seat, and a parking badge dangling from the rearview mirror of a particular company, Apex Pharmaceuticals. And they didn't really know what the heck was going on, besides the fact that this guy just up and disappeared, maybe was disintegrated or something. Nobody knew for sure. All Dr. Akins knew is he wanted that laptop. And I've had this discussion with the DM on Twitter since then. I say it's kleptomania. He says it is the what is it? The search and seizure of unclaimed property for the expansion of research, or something to that effect. And he made sure to say it was lawful. So anyways, in the middle of all this, while they're investigating, a couple of black SUVs pull up, and in the middle of all this hubbub, that's when Dr. Akins takes the laptop, and basically 8 guys in dark uniforms, 8 armed men in uniforms, this is the important thing, step out and begin confronting the party about the car, telling them to back away, stolen property and all that. And in the middle of all this, Dr. Akins barely manages to hide the laptop from everybody. So these guys, who actually came out and said that they were looking for a laptop that was supposed to be in the possession of whoever owned the car, they didn't see Dr. Akins hide it. They couldn't find it in the car, and things were getting pretty hairy. And of course, this whole time, Brody, our rebellious anti-authority figure, was saying, "Hey, who are you guys? I have not seen any identification. I don't know what kind of authority you guys actually have. I'm not budging." And he did not. He did not move from the exact spot at the side of the car he was standing at and checking the car out. Everybody else backed off. Because, like Ivan, law-abiding, he didn't want any trouble. Elliot didn't want any trouble. Dr. Akins, of course, wanted to hide the laptop and just get the frick out of the crossfire, because combat is not his thing. And so eventually there was a group of police officers that came up to the scene. Kind of came out that they were, as soon as everybody saw the police coming. The guys in the dark uniforms piled in their SUVs and tried desperately to escape, But since they were in a hurry, I decided they needed to do some kind of do a vehicle operation check, which they kept failing. So they were stuck. And so the officers arrive. They, started questioning everybody about what's going on. Their main thing was just like, they thought they were just there to just investigate some strange lights and whatnot on the highway. They were getting reports that from freaked out citizens nearby and everything. And eventually, there's all this back and forth going for a while. And after a bit, I kind of decided that we needed to have a armed confrontation. I'd initially planned for there to be one, but kind of going with the flow of things, it didn't really happen. Not the way I intended it to. So, as one of the officers was trying to get them to one of the SUVs to roll down their window and provide some identification, he got shot point blank range and was basically out of the fight. And then I wound up walking everybody through their first combat, which also happened to be one of the biggest combats I've ever run as a GM. I think the only time that I've ever had a bigger combat was at the beginning of the Lost Mines of Fendelver, the starter box adventure for 5e D&D. Because when I ran that part of the adventure, I basically ran the whole thing with the manor as just a giant combat scene, just so we didn't have to keep rolling initiative all the time. So that may have been like the biggest one, but this is like the biggest one where I was actually like directing individual actors and everything. And everybody got to found out pretty quickly that combat in Classic Alternity, and probably even in the new one, haven't got to try it yet, is freaking brutal, especially if you don't have any armor. Nobody really had any bulletproof vests or anything. So, actually, what wound up happening is half of the guys in the dark uniforms actually got out of their SUVs and started fighting back. The other SUV finally, in the middle of the fight, succeeded on their vehicle operation roll. So I said that they just tore out of there. Allergies. Hate them. And so fight went on. It actually went pretty quickly. The Game Master's Guide for Classic Alternity suggests that you try to avoid combat scenes that go on for longer than 10 rounds. I think ours pretty much went for 2. Because everybody was pretty consistent with their, with actually hitting the hostiles and pretty consistent with their damage, so it just ended in no time flat, really. So they really got to see, this combat's pretty rough stuff in this game. And then afterwards, there's just a little more questioning from the police, and kind of like as a gesture of, thank you for your help in this confrontation. They just, the police pretty much just like cleared the road, cleared the southbound lane, and let everybody go go on their way. I know that may not be terribly realistic. The officers would probably keep them there to question and make collect statements, and Hans, what the heck are you doing with an automatic weapon? But this is a game. So, and besides that, by the time the police would have been able to question Hans about his assault rifle, that player had to go parent. It happens, when you're doing online games and everybody's got little kids, or some of us do anyway. So I just kind of just made more sense to just kind of let it slide. So the session ended with them making their way to the nearest town, on the way south down towards Portland and everything, where Dr. Akins and probably Ivan were going to be treating everybody to dinner and some drinks. So then next session is probably going to start off with everybody actually convening at some restaurant somewhere and actually having this conversation. I think it might be nice to kind of have them, a little more easy, a little bit of an easygoing session next time. We'll see. There's always room for complications, though. I mean, the one nice thing about this group is, we can usually go for sessions without any combat, and it's just like pure role playing and everything, and we're okay with it. I mean, I would have been happy to have just kind of sat there and just let everybody talk together as as their characters and everything, because they seem to be enjoying it. But the other thing is, you have this kind of situation coming up. Stuff's going to come up, and I was just like, it'd just be good to get them kind of used to this system and doing combat rolls and everything. Just kind of help them get broken in, because this was a lot of the group's first time actually playing Classic Alternity. So that's pretty much the gist of the recap for today. I know it's a little longer than usual, but I also had to say, hey, here's our group of characters and who they usually play in the side campaign. And again, going with the theme is also pretty easy for me, being playing a character that's complete opposite of Shearson, because I went from playing one character to playing basically everybody that is not the PCs, and it's actually a pretty good experience. So, hopefully everybody enjoyed hearing this recap. I mean, everybody that played seemed to have a really good time. There's a lot, they all did say that they had fun with it and everything. And everybody's seemed pretty excited for the next session. So, again, if you have wondered what it'd be like to be the game master, sometimes it's good to kind of be in their shoes, see what it's like in their shoes. Oh, that's another video that I recorded that I actually needed to upload for you guys. I would say, if you haven't so far, I would say really consider even just like running a side campaign. You can even just say, hey, I'd just like to do like a one shot for everybody, just, kind of get not even the whole foot wet, just get my toes wet being the GM and see where it goes. So, see you next time, and happy gaming.